Mattescreen, and this is a physical blocker. So physical blockers are zinc or titanium. So these are elements, metals that absorb and reflect UV light. And in the past, physical blockers used to be very matte and opaque looking because we didn't have the technology to micronize the particles and make it so it's kind of cosmetically elegant. So they were very cosmetically inelegant. And so, those are the types of sunscreens that lifeguards would wear, where they have like white noses because they would just slap on the mineral sunscreen and there, no light can pass. There's just a white, cream. Now there's a lot of chemically, kind of cosmetically elegant mineral sunscreens, including this one. They still often have a little bit of a color to them because they have some opacity. And when and that's some sort of a good thing in a way, because when it's opaque, it tells you that it's blocking some visible light. If it's completely transparent, we know visible light is getting through because we can see through the skin. So when it's opaque a little bit, we know that it's blocking some visible light. And that's important for people with very sensitive hyperpigmented conditions. And so this one is one that I'll recommend to them because it has a little bit of a tint to it, which is important. It's a physical blocker, so it does a really good job of blocking not only UVB, but also UVA and some visible light. Many tinted sunscreens have iron oxide in the inactive ingredients. So when you're looking at ingredients, if you have melasma and you want to get sunscreen and you want it to protect you from getting more melasma, you want to get something that protects you from a lot of UVA and also visible light. You want to find a tinted sunscreen that has iron oxide in the inactive ingredients. They don't call it an active ingredient just because that's what the FDA had determined, but iron oxide helps block blue light. And so this one has iron oxide in it, and many of the tinted ones that are really good for melasma will have iron oxide in it as one of the other blockers. A lot of people have been talking about chemical sunscreen blockers and very, very small components of benzene being found in them, and benzene is a known carcinogen. The amounts of benzene are so minuscule, and it's only kind of in like expired products, that I really wouldn't worry about that. Ultraviolet light itself is a known carcinogen. So it's really important that you use sunscreen. Try not to be swayed by sort of like fear tactics in terms of sunscreens, because we know that ultraviolet light is a carcinogen. So, the dose makes the poison. So even tiny things that are known carcinogens, if it's in a small enough concentration, it doesn't. This one doesn't have any of that, but I'm just kind of addressing, the kind of like fear messaging around some chemical sunscreens. So I think chemical sunscreens like the Unseen sunscreen are still perfectly great. Beth asks, can you completely get rid of melasma? You can get rid of melasma temporarily. You can't really cure melasma. Melasma is, if you're prone to melasma, it's something that's probably going to keep coming back. You can control it, but often you need to kind of stay on top of it with topicals or in-office treatments in order to kind of keep it at bay. What will do the most for you with melasma is sunscreen and sun protective habits like seeking shade, wearing a hat, wearing sunglasses. But it's difficult to control entirely. Even if you do laser treatments and topical lighteners and you're really careful with the sun and you have one afternoon where you're walking around without sunscreen on a sunny day, you can get all of your melasma back. So it's a difficult condition, but you want to get into the habit of wearing a nice tinted sunscreen every day. We didn't talk about moisturizer. I'll just mention this one.